Learn how to crochet a mug rug with this easy crochet mug rug pattern. It's a square crochet coaster pattern that is made with the beginner-friendly moss stitch and actually lays flat. These crochet coasters are quick and easy and make wonderful gifts.
Hello from Halifax. I'm Jo with Jo the World Creations.
We're going to be getting right to the video tutorial. All the details and the step-by-step written instructions are available for free on my website, and there's a link to that in the description below this video. For this pattern, you can use any size 4 medium yarn. For a hook size, use a G hook. You'll also need scissors, a measuring tape, and a yarn needle. Some optional materials are some stitch markers and an object like this piece of cardboard that is 3 inches wide, which will help us cut our tassels. To start, we're going to make a slip knot. Place it on your hook and pull tight. Now we're going to chain 23. You go ahead and chain 23 and come back to the video. With our starting chains now made, we're going to begin row 1. For row 1 only, we're going to be working into the back ridge loops, which are these bumps along the back. We're going to start by working into the 3rd chain from the hook. So here's the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We're going to rotate our chains and find that 3rd back ridge loop and insert our hook into that back ridge loop and single crochet. Insert your hook into that back ridge loop and now single crochet. You may find it helpful to place a stitch marker in the top of the first single crochet made in each row, so I'm going to do that now. Now we're going to begin the repeat portion of the row. This is what we're going to be repeating all the way across. We're going to start by making 1 chain. Chain 1. Now we're going to skip the next chain. We are not going to work into it. In the next chain, we are going to single crochet. Just to recap, I've made 1 chain. I'm skipping the next chain. In the next chain, still in the back ridge loop, single crochet. And those steps are what we're going to be repeating all across the row. Chain 1, skip the next chain, in the next chain, single crochet. Chain 1, skip the next chain, in the next chain, still always working into the back ridge loop, single crochet. You go ahead and repeat that all the way across. I'm almost finished working all the way across. Nothing special happens at the end of the row, but just to show you how to finish the row, I have single crocheted, chained 1, so I'm still following the same steps, which means to skip the next chain. In the 3rd last chain, I'm making a single crochet stitch. There are 2 chains left. Chain 1, skip the 2nd last chain, and in the last chain, single crochet. At the end of row 1, you should have a total of 11 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The 11th one is the stitch with the stitch marker. Just before we start row 2, I think it would be helpful to point out where the chain 1 and chain 2 spaces are, because that's where we're going to be working in the following row. When we began row 1, we worked into the 3rd chain from the hook, which means we skipped 2 chains. So there's 2 chains right here. These 2 chains create a chain 2 space, which is right in between this single crochet stitch and then the chains. So this is our chain 2 space here. every time we skipped a chain and chained one and then worked into the next chain, we created a chain one space. In between the 2 single crochet stitches and under the chain one, there's a chain one space. So you should have a total of 10 chain one spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're going to start row 2, and this is what we're going to be repeating for the rest of the pattern. To start row 2, we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. And we're going to turn our work. We're going to start by working into the first chain one space. This is the space between the first and second single crochet stitches under the chain one. We're going to work right in here and single crochet. Working into this chain one space, we're going to insert our hook into that space and now single crochet. I'm going to place a stitch marker in the top of this first single crochet stitch. Now we're going to start the repeat portion of the row, which is what we'll be repeating all the way across until there's one space left. We're going to start by making one chain, chain one. Now we're going to work into the next chain one space. This space is between this single crochet stitch and this single crochet stitch under the chain one. So we're going to make a single crochet in the next chain one space. Working into the next chain one space, single crochet. And that's what we're going to repeat all the way across until there's one space left. Chain one, in the next chain one space, single crochet. Chain one, in the next chain one space, and if you have trouble finding these, you can always pull your work apart slightly to see that gap, and there's your chain one space, and make a single crochet into it. You go ahead and repeat these steps all the way across the row. As you're nearing the end of the row, come back to the video and we'll complete the row together. I'm working my way across the row. I have 2 chain one spaces left to work into, and our final space is going to be working into the chain 2 space at the very end. So I've single crocheted, chained one in the second last chain one space, single crochet, chain one, in the last chain one space, single crochet, and to complete the row, we're going to chain one, and we're going to make a single crochet in the chain 2 space. The last space of the row, which is a chain 2 space because of those 2 starting chains, and then in between the chains and the single crochet stitch here is where we're going to make our last single crochet. I'm going to remove this stitch marker now. So in the space between these 2 chains and the single crochet, we're going to make a single crochet stitch. Make sure you've chained one before making your final single crochet stitch. At the end of this row, which is what you're going to be repeating for the rest of the Mug Rug pattern, and so every row has the same number of stitches and same number of spaces, you should have a total of 11 single crochet stitches. In this pattern, the 2 chains that we made to begin the row, they do not count as a stitch. And every time we make a chain 1, that does not count a stitch. We're only counting the single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. At the end of this row, we have 1 chain 2 space, which is in between those 2 chains that we made at the beginning of the row and the first single crochet. Here's our chain 2 space, and we have 10 chain 1 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. For row 3 and on, we're going to repeat what we just did and repeat row 2. Let's do it one more time together. To start the row, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and turn our work. Working into the first chain 1 space, single crochet. If you find it helpful, you can place a stitch marker in this first stitch. Now we repeat the following all the way across until the last space. Chain 1, in the next chain 1 space, single crochet. Chain 1, in the next chain 1 space, single crochet. Chain 1, in the next chain 1 space, single crochet. You go ahead and repeat this all the way across until the last space, the chain 2 space. I'm nearing the end of the row. I have one last chain 1 space to work into. I've single crocheted in the previous chain 1 space and I've made my chain 1. Working in the last chain 1 space, single crochet. To finish the row, chain 1, and we're going to work into the space in between these 2 chains and the single crochet stitch. I'm going to remove the stitch marker. Once again, here's the single crochet, here are the 2 chains. Find that space in between them and single crochet. You go ahead and repeat row 2 until the height matches your width. For me, this was approximately 5 inches because my width is 5 inches, and I made a total of 19 rows. You can end after any row. It doesn't matter which side you're working on, you can end after any row. After reaching your desired height, you're going to fasten off your yarn, which means to cut the yarn that's attached to your skein. I leave about an 8-inch tail, which gives me enough room to weave in my loose ends. And then pull the tail through the loop that was on your hook and pull tight. And with a yarn needle, weave in all your loose ends. For the tassels, we're going to attach tassels to the right and left sides. And it doesn't matter which side is facing you. Just make sure that you pick a side and then add all the tassels to the same side. But this mug rug's completely reversible and it doesn't matter if it's the front or the back. Pick a side and then we're going to add our tassels to the right and left sides of your mug rug. I added 10 tassels to each side. As I mentioned, I made 19 rows, so to give you a general idea, you can take your number of rows and divide that by 2 and add 1 to give you a sense of how many tassels you will need on each side. However, depending on how you space yours out, you may need more or less. Each tassel has 2 strands of yarn, and each strand is 6 inches long. You will need approximately 40 times 6-inch strands of yarn. Here's a tip for cutting the strands. Find an object like a piece of cardboard that's approximately 3 inches wide. Wrap your yarn around the object approximately 40 times. I'm just going to do it a few times to give you a general idea. Once you've wrapped your yarn around 40 times, with scissors, cut the yarn. And now you have all your strands of yarn needed to make your tassels. I attached a tassel to the top and a tassel to the bottom, and the remaining tassels evenly spaced apart approximately every other row. Let's pretend this is my finished mug rug here so I can show you how to attach the tassels. To attach the tassels, we're going to take our hook and insert it in the designated place where you'd like your tassels from the back to the front. Place 2 strands of yarn on your hook and pull them through. Now with your fingers, go through the loop and grab the ends and pull them through to make a knot. And pull tight. One more time, insert your hook from back to front. Place the 2 strands of yarn on your hook and pull them through, forming a loop. With your fingers, grab those ends and pull them through the loop and pull tight. And you're going to repeat this for each tassel. And the final step is to trim your tassels to make them all one length. I cut mine to be 1 inch. You can use scissors to cut the ends, or if you'd like them to be perfectly even, check out my guide and video tutorial on how to add fringe or tassels and cut the ends perfectly. And there's a link to that in the description below this video. And now you have a new mug rug. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy making these mug rugs. I'm here if you have any questions or if there's anything at all I can do to help, please let me know. If you enjoyed this tutorial, I'd be delighted if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you again and have a wonderful day.